Hello,
Yes.
Ayumi. We are so thrilled to have you with us. In a few words, explain how transformative your action is for all of us. We don't know exactly why and how, and we will be very happy to discover more about you today. But you are definitely the leader of the biggest initiative worldwide in terms of federating women solidarity around tech. You were born to a Japanese father. I thought even your mother was Japanese as well. Maybe not, but you have Japanese origins,
Hmm. So
and you
just
were
my
born in
father's
Brazil,
Japanese. My mom, she's Brazilian.
Brazilian. And we, the French, adopted you when you came to
Mm.
France, um, very early in childhood,
No,
actually.
not that early. So I went to a French Brazilian school, but I only arrived in France. I was 21. No, 22.
Okay.
No, 23, sorry.
And you knew French from your school in back in Brazil.
Yeah, so I learned, so I went to and then I grew up in South Africa, in fact, in Johannesburg. And I went to university there. And one of my subjects, because you have in South Africa, you have to take English as a major, like your main language, and then you have to take Afrikaans, which is the second language there at the time when I was. It was still during apartheid, so it was dark years those times. But then because I couldn't speak Afrikaans, sounds like Dutch, so I could take another language, and that was French. So I continued French, and then I did French literature in university, and then I went working for Club Med, which is French also. So I went around the world working, and I went to 1 year in French Polynesia in Tahiti, which is French, and then I spent in Morocco, was also quite a French speaking, and then Belgium as well. So it was a bit French speaking, and then until I settled in France. So I think my whole like life, I've got my karma must be somewhere in France.
Yeah. Everything takes us back to
Mm.
old continent, but you are now wandering around the world with your message and your program and your initiatives. And I will let Jennifer ask you a few questions because we are so eager to understand where you come from, more than just countries.
Thank
Hi,
you. Mhm.
hi everyone. I'm super happy to see you all here. I'm Jennifer Jambi, the co-founder of the Israeli chapter for Women in Tech. I know Ayumi now since 2019, 20, quite a
Crazy.
while. Was a bit before COVID. And Ayumi, today, basically, I want to ask you a question in two parts. The first one, we know that the idea of building Women in Tech Global came when you were at the Web Summit in 2018, I guess, with your
17.
17 with your son. And I was asking myself, as much as you had the idea at that moment, what was the catalyzer? So that's the first part. What happened that made you want to build Women in Tech? And the second part is, since 2017 and today 2025, the mission has evolved. Did you know from the start that would be so big, so much invested between what we're doing on the ground locally, different chapters, the AI coming up, etc. So first part, the
Excellent.
origin; second part, how the mission evolved. And here we have a lot of leaders around and the audience, a lot of people also that are medium to senior. So maybe to give some tips about how a woman, a professional woman, can evolve in the world as a true leader.
Thank you. Well, first I want to say thanks to both Jennifer and Anne. I think meeting you girls was one of those like milestones in our lifetime, which changes a course. And I remember very well when it was, yes, before COVID, seems like a lifetime away. And Jennifer, she reached out to do Women in Tech together with, and she says, you have to. So I think Jennifer, you reached out first, and you said right
Yes.
away, this woman, and she's gonna be part of our board. We have to do this, and it really matched right away because you like suns. You have like the energy and the light inside you that makes radiate everything. And if Women in Tech is what it is today, is because they've got girls like you, women like you, leaders like you in your respective countries and around the world who are inspiring and motivating and encouraging others to join, women and men. So I'm very thankful and I'm grateful for all that you do.
Thank
So
you.
how did it start? Well, it's not as if like one day I woke up and said, "Oh, what if I made it women in tech?" But kind of, I think it was things that add up to until a point where you said, "Okay, I've got to do something now." So as I said, from my upbringing, I was born in Brazil, I know some half Brazilian, half Japanese. So I'm like, I always say I'm a living cocktail. I've got all these different backgrounds, origins to me. I grew up in South Africa during an apartheid. And even back then, when I was 12 or 13, we had to fight for our rights at school, not just, for your cultural, but also as a gender. Like girls, my friends and I, we created the first girls rowing team at school. And then at university, I also was the ladies captain, and we created the first girls rowing team also in our school in Pietermaritzburg. And I'm very happy that today, many of the girls, even went to the Olympics, some of the girls that we trained back then. So it was always being like the first one, saying, okay, there's something that's unfair, it's not possible. Can we, instead of being a victim in that situation, what is it that we can do to change the situation around and, and get out of it? How can we change the situation and be owners of our life? So it was always like that I envisioned it, not to say, we need more rights, but what are we doing to make it happen? And so it started very early when I was in high school and then university. And then I traveled the world a lot, and I was in the corporate world. And then I remember I pivoted to tech before I was in hotel and marketing. And when I was 31, I had a very high corporate career. So I was well paid. I was a marketing director and communications director of this big group of we had 4 hotels, 5 casinos, restaurants, nightclubs, and everything. But at the end of the day, when you're running the communications and the sales of this kind of establishment, all that matters is how many coins people are going to be playing a slot machine, which for me, and I spent a lot of time at work, but I found absolutely no satisfaction in my job. Say, what are my values? What it is that the purpose in life? Is it to make people gamble more? So the answer was no. And it's okay, so what am I going to do about it? and where do I want to be? And so putting all the dots together, I had already 2 children. I wanted to spend more time with my kids. I wanted to travel more. And I wanted to do something innovative and creative because I didn't find arts before. So putting all of this together, I decided to go into tech. That was in 2007, 2008. And back then we didn't have so many online courses. It was the beginning for social media in business, Facebook, just the beginning of LinkedIn, not even. It was mostly Facebook. And so I started learning how to code, and then I started making websites. And this is how I became an entrepreneur. I built my first company and then my second one, where I would make marketing campaigns. I would make websites. I even learned how to make apps. And then I would do that for businesses. But being an entrepreneur is super difficult. I think most entrepreneurs, they do that. And thank God I didn't know how hard it was going to be before I started, because I don't know if I would have started, because it is so hard. But it's okay. So being an immigrant here in France, I was divorced. I had 2 children. So all the little struggles, all the boxes were ticking in the wrong side. But I managed to grow my career and my family, because I married again and I had 2 more children. But the 4th pregnancy was such a difficult one that when I finally gave birth, I wanted to go and meet other women, meet other people, learn the new tech trends. And circles of women everywhere throughout my life has always been something that I've cherished, that have always had my back, So I went to Web Summit in 2017. Sorry, it's a long story. I carried on. And I went there because I wanted to meet women. And I remember I met someone, and I knew there were not a lot of women in tech, because even for my company to hire, it was difficult to get women developers. They were mostly in the marketing side. But I thought that things were bad, but they were getting better. But in fact, the things were bad, but they were getting worse. That means that the gender gap in tech was getting even wider every year for the past 40 years. And that really blew my mind away and made me super angry. But what I like it when I'm angry is that it drives me, gives me more energy. I said, okay, this cannot happen. What can we do about it? So I said, okay, let's create. And then I started looking for initiatives around the world that already, existed, and they were making real progress or real impact on the ground. and also networks. And what I kind of saw, at least back then, there were a lot of networks, but they were mostly like women coming together, kind of a little bit complaining, oh, the women in tech, there's not a lot of us, whatever. But what were they doing to change things on the ground? So once again, we can't be victims, right? So, and then if you looked at the companies, they would say, oh yeah, you have a discount if you're a woman in tech. Well, we don't want discounts. Well, of course we do. We're happy with discounts, but that's not going to change the thing. What's going to change is, yes, community, because we know the power of but community and action programs, grassroots levels. And this all around the world, because there's not one country in the world that has found gender parity in tech. Even less. So if we wanted to do things, we had to do it all together. And I think the world is already so tied up. Everyone's building walls, building walls. I think we have to take them down, you know. I don't even think they exist, really, especially in the tech world. So there's so much more that unites us together than puts us apart, that we said, okay, this has to be a global movement right away. We don't want our daughters and our boys, you know, our world to wait 131 years for them to find, to get a space, especially the way, you know, the future is going, the new technologies and how we're driving the future. So I said, okay, let's do it. And honestly, I didn't think it was, I thought, well, it can be something big. Well, we have to try it anyway. But it was most like action oriented. Okay, let's do it now. And then we'll see. It works, doesn't work, doesn't work. We impact one person, 100 people, 1,000. This is great. I put the goal to 5 million because I think, you know, we have to dream big to bring everyone together. And here we are. And here we are.
And in terms of networking, you surround yourself with amazing women. How did you do that? Basically, did you know all of them from the start?
No. So I did use social media. In fact, I must say, I met this lady. I think she's Israeli. She lives in New York, or she lived in New York. Her name is Marsha Weider. Have you heard of her? Marsha Weider. She had the Dream Academy. And when it was back in 2018 as well. Yeah. I was invited to KinderNet. That's a KinderNet event in Portugal. And I really loved it. I was already started with Women in Tech. I had already started organizing the first actions at a summer camp where we taught 50 women from around the world the basics of coding. But I met her and she was very inspiring because she said, so KinderNet, you know, it's like a group. We had like 200 people over 3 days where we would be like an unconference and we would go to conferences that we didn't know of. And one of her conference was the Dream Academy, Share Your Dream. And I thought, well, that's a nice topic. Let me go and see. And she put it in, it arrived at the right time for me because I was at the time where I was building Women in Tech. She says, the first thing you have to do is find your dream. So I had found my dream, and that was really to Women in Tech to impact 5 million. That was very clear in my mind. She says, once you have your dream, you have to communicate it in a way that is very clear so people around you can understand. Because if they can understand, then they can join you. And this way, you can reach your dream in a much bigger and better and faster way, right? You can go better and faster if people are around you. And so what you have to do, you have to inspire them to take action with you. And then the fourth thing, you just have to take action. You have to start, like just start. Don't say, oh, I'm not ready. I'm going to do first do the logo and then I'm going to do this. No, it's going to be, I don't know, it's not the right timing. You have to start today. It is so important because then it's really action driven. It doesn't have to be big steps or small steps, but take a step, whatever it is that you can do today, you do it. And once again, then you communicate, you'll make your dream, your vision very clear so people that believe in it and have the same dream can join you. And then you inspire them to do it. And how do you inspire? By being authentic. Because if you really believe in your dream, then you just walking the talk, like you saying, okay, come, bring it. You bring people together, and you bring people together that have the same values and the same positive attitude. I think, it's about making sure you surround yourself with people that have love and light, and keeping toxic people away. And then you just grow. Because then you deliver as well, and then impact grows, and then and then you get excited about what's happening, and then that's it. That's how it goes.
Amen to that. Thank you, Ayumi. I live in Antoine.
Thank you. I invite the 35 people present to open their video in order to make a picture. We still need at least 2 or 3 of them. And also to take
Yes.
note of the best quotes, the most inspiring quotes into the chat. Here we have more room for even 3 more people. Natalie is joining. Natalie, which I mentioned earlier, in charge of the volunteers team. Ziva, which is one of our top volunteers as well. Actually, I wanted to take you back to the present and maybe the near future and ask you how you think the members of a chapter such as the Israeli chapter could benefit from the global events that you and we are preparing. What's upcoming for us during the next 2 or 3 months?
They're super exciting. So we're going to have our 4th annual Women in Tech Global Summit that's going to be happening in Osaka. So until now, it has always been in Paris under the high patronage of the president. And our summit is a bit of like our G20 kind of summit. You know, it's like our very high level summit that brings together the delegations from all across the world. So today we have 62 countries, I think, chapters around. And most of them, so at least 50, are going to have representations and delegations coming to see. For the first time, we are doing outside of France. We are going to be doing in Osaka because it also marks the Osaka Expo, which is a world expo, which happens only twice a decade, every 5 years. And this year, starting on the 13th of April, it will be in Osaka in Japan. And so we had the opportunity to partner with a company, Entity, which is also a Japanese company, that opened up expo space for us. And we're also having a 5-star hotel just next door, so we can even be more comfortable and have gala dinners and have many other things. And this is it's our it's the gathering of the year. I think it's the one with the highest impact. Why? Because we have the time to spend together. It's going to be over 3 days of the summit, including 1.5 days at the hotel, 1.5 days at the expo, where we're going to be interacting, meeting, having speakers that are very high level, whether they're from government, CEOs, companies, but from all around the world. I think you have access to these top people, visionaries, and nice people, because even if it's a big thing, we make sure that we invite people that are very nice and with open hearts to come to share an experience, to share their dream, to share their lessons, and to build things together. I think this is, and we know how important it is to have a good network. And so it's like bringing the best networks all around the world into one place where we're going to be coming together and having fun, because that's the main thing. So you can have not just work, but you can have a real life experience.
I'm using another word always to describe the spirit of Women in Tech, and it's a French name. Maybe that's why. It's glamour.
Ah, glamour.
Glam.
We also like it to be. We also we like it when it's glam as well.
We
Might
are
as well,
tech
right?
and glam. Tech and glam.
Yes.
Glam and
Tech
tech.
and glam. I like that. Tech and glam. Yes,
You
we're going to have a
when
gala dinner, very
participants
glamorous
open-
gala dinner.
When you open the luggage, the suitcase of the women's participants, you will find the most extravagant gala evening dresses, because they go for a special cruise. A Woman in Tech cruise is always a very glamour cruise.
Yes.
That's another dimension.
Yes. And also what is nice is that you see the culture of all the different countries, Some or like even the French, they like to dress well, but not too much, not to be showy. And then you go to the Middle East or you go to Central Asia, oh my God, like you have to put sunglasses on, because they're beautiful, but like we are there. And so it's good. And many, many use the traditional dresses as well. And I love that. From Mongolia, when they come in traditional dresses. I'm sure we're going to be seeing lots of Japanese in kimonos. Yeah, so that's going to be nice. It's always nice because then you can see how proud they are of their culture and how they're proud to show that culture to the world, in a very friendly, environment. And
Yeah.
And glam, tech and glam. I like
I
that.
have one more question before we open to you girls to ask your questions directly to Ayumi. It's this Osaka Protocol initiative. You are more and more involved with tech diplomacy, which is even broader than gender diplomacy or feminist diplomacy.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about this protocol? What is it about?
So the specific protocol, because now we just celebrated like over 7.5 years of women in tech. And I'm very proud of all the work we've done and the impact on the ground. We count all the people that we've skilled, we've mentored, we've helped, and we already counted over 500,000. But we do have this mission of empowering at least 5 million by 2030, right? And the work we're doing is great, but it's not going fast enough. And for us to go faster, at some point, and this I realized, after it's important to be on the grassroots level, but it's also important to be at a very top level with the policymakers, with the people who are making the laws and the governments and the relations, because this is where decisions are being made. And so for us to level out, we have to be present where these discussions are made. And part of it is also proposing pledges or frameworks, I would say frameworks that are going to be encouraging and making sure that gender equality are still something super important and shouldn't be put away. Because we know how every time there's and it's not me that says, it's like the French philosopher says, every time there's a religious, social, economic crisis, political crisis, women's rights are the first rights to be removed. And this is so true right now. And so I don't think we have to give up. Once again, we have to fight for our rights and say that's it's not just because of the values, which are, but it's also economic, an economic factor that we need more women creating new technology, that we need more skilled labor in a couple of years because there's going to be a shortage, and we need everyone's diverse views to be bringing their perspectives into shape. And so what's the Osaka Protocol? The Osaka Protocol is a framework that we got inspired by the Kyoto Protocol, which was around climate. The Osaka Protocol is going to be around gender equality for innovative societies, where and also the Kyoto Protocol was around just governments committing. We have seen that government's commitment is not enough, especially today. Tech diplomacy. We need private sector to commit. We need NGOs to commit. We need every single all the stakeholders of an ecosystem to commit. And so this is what the Osaka Protocol is. It's going to be it's a framework for public-private sector to commit to driving more gender equality. So we're looking at education, we're looking at entrepreneurship in the corporate world, at the digital divide, and also at the development of ethical emerging technologies. And so we have the objectives, and then we have we have the pledge with the objectives, and then we have the commitment. Because pledging, yeah, it's good, but it's just the blah blah. There's no real action. We want people to commit. So what are you committing to? And so we're not going to be telling them what you have to commit to. We say, okay, you choose what you commit. You can commit in those 3 sections, either to skill, either to mentor, whatever. So there's a whole list. You commit to doing for a number until 2030. You can commit to 1 woman, 10, 15, 5 million, doesn't matter. What do you commit to? And so they commit, and then they have to deliver. There's going to be a whole framework where for reporting every 6 months, and so that collectively we can reach the goal. And because now we're going to be working really collective, so we have like NTT, Microsoft, the government of Malaysia, all of these partners have already committed. We are looking at least 50 million now, not 5 million. We X by 10, 50 million by 2030, and also to narrowing the gender gap from 28.2% that we have today, hopefully to 45%. And we have other commitments and objectives as well. So we are doing the final draft at the moment, but you can already have an outline of what the objectives are and the commitments in our website, in the Osaka Protocol.
Well, great. We have 2 board members joining. Salam, now I just lost you.
Oh,
Here you are.
I am.
And
How are you,
Shani just
everybody?
joined as well. So Anat is planning to come to Japan. We don't know whether other board members besides Anat and myself will make it. And Natalie is planning as well. And now we have Margalit. So we are about to end actually the first part of this webinar. Salam unfortunately couldn't join. She had meetings, but she's now with us. Regarding this Osaka Protocol, I think it's definitely a very important initiative, and it will be a historical moment that we don't want to miss as a chapter. So we obviously will be there. I want also to open to additional questions, and since it's a Sunday and you are supposed to be with your family today, Ayumi, you don't have to stay for the whole hour. And I just want to say that after the questions, I will give some insights about the extension that we are preparing in Tokyo before going to Osaka in order to make your trip to Japan more attractive, not just coming for 3 days in Osaka. Obviously, you will want to stay a little more in Japan. So we have already a few partners mobilized to help us organize very interesting events, both for the Israeli chapter and the French chapter all together. So who wants to ask a direct question now? Just open your mic. No mic is closed, and just ask.
Is your biggest tip for this webinar to continue motivating and by social and the daily people that we meet in our lives to introduce them to women in tech?
Well, for this webinar, what I really wanted was to meet you guys, to tell you the truth. And if, yeah, just to meet you and to see, to give you recognition and gratefulness for the work you are doing. And yes, and I hope you will be inspiring the other people around you to join the movement and to, to be active members, volunteers, boards, active members of our community.
Beautiful. I'll do that.
Another question, maybe from the audience. Don't be shy.
I'll ask a generic question, but I think it can be our North Star. So how do you define success, let's say, in 5 years from today? How does success look like?
Well, so many things. So in 5 years, it's going to be where 2030. So this is where we have reached our goal. So obviously having completely reached our goal, so that is 50 million and having closed the gender gap or maximum, that would be, yes, that would be success. But if we don't reach or if you overreach, it will be successful as well. Because I think the journey, that's what is not always like the end result. It's all the journey, the lives we are impacting, the mindsets we are changing along the way. And if at some point we can not only change gender and women's representation, but also the look of nations, through tech diplomacy and how nations can be built with a more diverse, comprehensive, and loving and feminine kind of leadership. I think that would be at the cherry on the top. But once again, I think it's a journey that's beautiful, right? Like the struggles that we have, but the small wins every single day. That's what makes it so impactful. And yeah, if we reach, when we will succeed, when we reach, I think it's going to be a milestone to have a big celebration as well.
Amazing.
I have a question. So what do you think is our biggest challenge today and how we can change this?
I think the biggest challenge today is people's mindsets. Because we can change laws, we can change quotas, we can change so many things, but the most difficult one is changing people's mindsets. The moment you don't, you don't convince, not that you have to convince them, but they have to understand, deep in their minds and in their souls, the importance of this, the importance of women and, and peace and all of this around the world. We can change all the laws we want. It will never, it will never work. So I think shifting mindsets, it's what takes the longest. But also when we we have it, when we achieve it, then laws can change against or forward because, governments change. But what they've got inside, the legacy will always create, and they're going to be educating the families, the children, in a way that will make the society as a whole will be able to evolve.
Great. If you can share with us like a story, something that women tech impact someone or a group or somehow.
Yeah, I could share many, but the one I like to share, because it's extra special, because it was the very first program we did. I didn't know when to start right in the beginning. I just said, okay, let's create Women. Just said, okay, let's do it. And so first I said, well, let's do a summer camp. So it was a coding summer camp in July 2018. And I just put it out in the world. I remember I put it on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I said, I need someone who's going to be helping me, teach the summer camp. And then I need people who are going to be interested in learning. So, and I found the two. So I found a lady from North Macedonia who had her own edtech, was developing her edtech. And she had also different mentors that could help us give, the summer camp to people. And then we had over 200 registrations for girls that wanted to learn how to code, basics of coding, HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript. And that was, the youngest was 16 and the oldest was 56, so very large things. And they came from 35 different countries. And one of the ladies who took that course, she used to work in a hostel in Skopje, which is the capital of North Macedonia. She took the course, we just met online, and it was great. 1 year later, in 2019, we opened the North Macedonia chapter. And while I was telling the story of how I met the first North Macedonia girl, she was there in the crowd. And then she put up her hand and says, well, I was one of those 50 women who learned how to code. And thanks to that camp, she continued studying, and she became a front-end developer. So her whole family, she had just a 18-month-old boy back then. She was able to give a much better, future and job for, and to really help the whole family evolve. And so she had become then a front-end developer. Today, she still works with us. She's very close. She's an IT director of this big company in Skopje, and she gives back to the entire community as a mentor. And she's also the first person, she has got a Women in Tech tattooed in her arm. So I like that story because it's really from the beginning, and we've been with her for 7 years now. Now she's the story of Women in Tech. And so how you can see her grow and give back, I think it's beautiful.
Melissa, you had a question. You can ask. You're on mute.
Okay, there we go. So it's related to everything you've been saying so far, but I'm very curious because it sounds to me like you're very much operating like a visionary, right? You see into the future 2 or more years ahead. And at times that can be isolating because you see things that people can't, where things are going, their inner potential, and the like. So it's a 2-part question. So the first is, how do you, or what do you do to maintain your inner resilience? And the second is, how do you get people to believe?
So I believe in continuous learning. So I started also my EGBA last year, the École du Pont Business School in Paris. So I'm doing my research right now on tech diplomacy and women's issues and everything. And so that has opened another asset for me, I think, learning, like reading. I think we've forgotten when we always like in our works and homes and stuff, we forgot to read, like really read, not just read what's, on social media or read the LinkedIn or read the news, but read research. And this is what I really discovered with my university thing, is reading papers from researchers. It gives you so much more expertise and vision and stuff, and you make it more curious. So one thing is being more curious, and so that's you can kind of predict or what is going to be coming up. So in curiosity, But also, I think I get so excited about it, I think people, they believe me because I get excited and I live it. I don't tell people, okay, you do it. I do it with them, right? You know, when I believe in something, I'm the first one there, like on the ground or doing something or really like walking the talk. I like to do things. And then I ask people to do it with me. I don't tell them to do it and then I go do something else. It's okay, let's do this. It's about doing it together. And then and when you see the results, okay, let's do this together. And it's a matter of trust, and trust comes over time, right? If today with Anne and with Jennifer and with all of you, is because somehow there was this trust, and I'm not letting them down, because the vision, the missions does not change. It will evolve, but what we are fighting for, what we're committed to, our commitments and our values, they stay the same, and they're just different ways to reach our target.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I just wanted to know, what are your strategies for overcoming imposter syndrome, especially in challenging markets like in Israel, where finding a position, you don't always think you're qualified, or the expertise that they need, you're not sure that you have. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's difficult. Just get ready, prepare yourself. So if it's something that you want to do, then go for it. Even if you're not completely ready, because you can never be 100% ready. And this is also what I've learned over time. And sometimes when you're trying to get something ready for too long, you miss the bus, you know? So I think if you know that you're going to be passionate about that, you want to do it, even if you don't know everything, and you never know everything, you will learn along the way. So it's more of like, okay, I've got this to learn, I've got that to learn, but you're confident that you will, right? And just believe in, like, go for it, really go for it. I know it's hard because, oh God, in so many ways, I also always have that, but you say, you know what, you said, okay, worst things can happen is they will say no. And then it gets me so crazy angry that I say, I'm going to show them that they were wrong. People, when I've got doors shut, in front of my face, it really motivates me because it gets me in such an anger that I try to pivot this, like transform this anger into energy. Like, okay, I'm going to show you, you will see me. And then if they do give you, then you show them why they gave it to you. And if no one wants to give you, you show the whole world that you can do it because this is what you're made for, know your value. Yeah.
So thank you. I'll take 2 more questions, maybe Shani. And
Yes, thank
I think
you.
Patricia wanted, if you can ask after Shani your question, which is in the chat, it would be great. Otherwise, I will read the question. And I just wanted to say that regarding imposteur and feeling that you are not the right person at the right place at the right time, Shani can tell a lot about that, how you can overcome that. I just attended a meeting at UNESCO last week with Ayumi, and there were 2 or 3 panels. In each panel, 4 or 5 brilliant women and men with international recognition, professors, recognized scientists, because it was for the International Day of Women in Science. And Ayumi was just the best.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah. You were the one who moved the people, and emotion, the power of emotion. Sometimes it's good to put a figure, and she also came prepared, and she threw a few figures, a few statistics, which the others didn't. You gave us some good quotes potentially for the social media, but also good food for thought. And the emotion was really palpable. You could feel it in the room, and I saw all the young students that were in the room. It was an official meeting at the UN for the UN Day, and they all wanted to speak only with Ayumi. And I was supposed to speak with Ayumi. I waited for 15 girls to finish talking with Ayumi before I could reach Ayumi. And I took my ticket, didn't I?
So we went to dinner together, and I met your men, so it was a great time.
Yes. So we have a wonderful new board member for the last year and a half, I think, maybe almost 2 years, which is Shani.
Oh, well, thank you. I didn't expect this intro. Well, first of all, thank you, Anne, for the nice words. I actually joined almost exactly a year ago, which is so nice, and I'm so proud to be part of this group, Ayumi. So great to meet you. And hearing some of your things in your vision, Per Salam's question, I wanted to ask something that is a bit, I know, controversial, or it's just not we don't have always the clear answers to that. So as women in tech continue to go internationally, globally, how do you envision incorporating non-female perspectives to support advancement of women, right, and foster cultural education? So how do we basically start educating the non-female people on this planet
I want them on board. Of course, it's not at all controversial. I think, most women are already completely convinced that we need more women on board, but I think we have to, we can only do it together with everyone. No, doesn't matter what gender is. And that's why you will see Women in Tech in the Global Summit. I make sure that all the speakers, we have 50% representation, because we're not saying women are better. We are saying we're just as good. Everyone is good, but representation matters. And we want to lead by example. We want other organizations, other conferences, other, places to be including women and men. And so we are doing the same. We're not going to just put women on stage. We're putting women and men. In my advisory board, I've got half women, half men. And in our global council that we just created, we're also inviting men. So men are completely welcome. So I'm so happy to see Levi here with us, because I think we need to definitely all work together. Once again, men, women, and people of all genders, I think in the moment we've got the right mindset and we've got the same vision and values. Oh God, that's what we want, right? We want to be living like in harmony, and where everyone has their place and can share their views and be valued in the same way.
Thank you. Patricia, do you want to ask your question orally, or do you want us to do it?
It's okay. Can you hear me, Anne? Nice to meet you. I'm very Ayumi. I'm thrilled to know your story. I'm also travel a little bit. I'm Spanish. Lived in Venezuela, in Canada, in Greece, in France, and now I'm in the UK. And for more than 20 years, I've been a woman in tech, and I've worked a lot in, diversity and inclusion. And there are two topics to me that haven't changed so much. And one is that we want to have more women, but actually 50% of women that start in tech leave the sector. Mm-hmm. And I think that, it continues to be toxic. It's toxic in a different way, but look at Zuckerberg and his masculinity, masculine energy. And so to me, this is really, the workplaces are not designed for women. They are not designed a lot for collaboration. So, I'm not sure we are really looking at that so much. And the other side as well that I will like your feedback is that very often, because I'm involved in AI, I get, I go to the conference of women in general, and they ask younger women to join tech because they need to fix AI. And I think this is a burden. We are telling these young women, promising women, we created this mess, but guess what? We are waiting for you to fix it all. And I don't find it very energizing. Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious about how, we can have a more generative message for those, younger, not only younger women, but women as well that, maybe they want to switch to tech, and also how we can do that, how, what you see the steps to work, to change workplaces, because to me, until we change that, it's like we have a boat, we are with our bucket removing water, but we have a huge hole. So no matter how fast we try to remove the water, we are sinking.
Thank you, Patricia, for taking us to the retention issue. And
so retention, it is a big issue, because not only do we have a problem from the pipeline all the way to the work, when women do finally get into work, there is a much higher dropout rate than men. And that can be for many different reasons, whether it's from the time of the motherhood, but also it comes from this internal culture. All I can say is that I think change, especially internal culture changes, it doesn't change from the bottom up. If the culture changes from the top down, right? It's the vision of the person that's leading the boat, of the captain, that's going to be coming down. So I don't like, if I'm doing something toxic, it's not going to be my people, and they're not going to be changed. And so with this new different laws and backlashing that we have for diversity and I, somehow, like, you can see so many people, you know, that used to say and I forever, whatever, you know, they changing. And then they might say also, oh, it never worked for us. Why did it not work for you? Because it was not authentic. Change can also only happen when it's authentic, when it's in the DNA of the company, and they really believe in it and they want to make it work. If people, they just do it just to tick a box, it will never work, because the environment will still be toxic, right? So it has to be something, you have to put the right people at the right place, and that comes from the top down. Culture comes from the top down, and not the other way around. In business, this is how I believe. So yes, it has to be who's leading that company, and how are they making sure that the people that are leading H&R and the management team, how are they expressing, you know, the views of the management and how they treat their employees. So it's completely important. So once again, it's changing the mindset and the whole how you embrace that. But that's somehow I'm not happy, but with these shifting laws, you can see who's really walking the talk, who was really intentional about it, and who's not. The ones who are not intentional, they're just dropping out like this because they say, okay, it's a good excuse, we don't have to do it anymore. And the people who are intentional, who are really determined to do it, they did not leave. They are they are carrying on with this with all these different commitments. Exactly. So at least you can see, you know, put space. It puts people in front of their what they really are. So somehow it breaks the barriers and the images that are just there for false images somehow. But it is hard. And then the other say, what was the other part of the question? I forgot.
It was about Mark Zuckerberg being a jerk.
It was about you know, the pressure we put in people entering tech, women entering tech.
Oh yeah, for ages.
AI.
So first the age thing, we want young. Yeah, we want young, but also I think we can change into tech throughout your life. I always say that I changed when I was 30, right? And so to say that we can pivot, and when we pivot at different age stages of your career, I think it's also as interesting or even more, because you have all your luggage that you already have from your background, and it's just going to be something in added value to your new job that you're going to be, you know, you're going to be doing. And on AI, I think we have to. Everyone is responsible, not just the developers, not just the researchers, the users as well. You know, we have to demand better. You know, ask for better. You know, just saying, oh yeah, we just leave for the girls. There's gender bias in AI. Then just we need more women developers. No, because we are the ones who are going to be the users, and the users have a huge power as well on it. You have to be saying, okay, say it back. You have. So I was saying that UNESCO. I did this research for the school as part of my doctoral degree, and where we analyzed 5 different AI models. So it was Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and another one, and with 5 different languages. English as a neutral language, and then Spanish, Portuguese, French, German, Arabic, because those are gender languages. And we asked 10 questions, which were neutral questions, but to see, analyzing the answers to see where gender bias was really present and what was the tendency. So what does a CEO look like? What does a brilliant scientist look like? Describe me a nurse, etc. And you could see that for the leadership positions, whether it was government or CEOs, 75% of the answers shifted to male-generated answers and 26 neutral answers, but none of them were feminine. However, for AI scientists, there were more women scientists in the answers than men. That science was the only one. However, nurse was 100% a woman, always. Like, you cannot find male nurses. And also, yeah, everything is industry of power was also very male dominated. And so, yes, we do need more women, but also if we can tell the men or the developers themselves, okay, this is here you can see the bias. How do we solve it? And it's, yes, it does use algorithms, and it does use data from that spots that is biased data. But the beauty of algorithms is that you can put algorithmic equations to balance it out. You can say, okay, from 50 questions they're going to be answering the same time, make sure that 5 of them are going to be for men, 5 of them for women, doesn't matter, or people from others, and 2 of minorities. You can quickly code this. So I think the way women and men can be more involved is not just by accepting what the machine tells you, but being more judgmental and not accepting, making your own opinions, because AI and algorithms, they are just formulas. They're just prediction, right? It's just a matter of prediction. They're going to be predicting what the next word is going to be. However, the judgment and the approval, that's human. You will always have that. So doesn't matter what the machine is going to tell you, you're always going to be the one giving the final judgment and taking the final decision. So you are the ones who are going to be either accepting or asking it to be changed. So I think it's a very personal thing where you have to ask for more and demand better by making the right judgment and taking the right decisions. Sorry, it was a bit long, but
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's keep each other informed. Let's be together on these challenges. We have to wrap up this video conference. And before we split and go back to our activities, I just wanted to give an overview of the upcoming opportunities, because we also have our local events. The next one being on March. I know that we have the master classes, but the next event being on March 10 to celebrate the International Women's Day. So it's organized with our partner, The Point, like last year. And we're going to have a 3 hours, very interesting experimental experience, if I can say, sensorial experience. But also we will include mentors into the program. We have the master classes for March and April, and the registrations are still going on. It's led by Claudia and Rotem, and the International Women's Day is led by Melissa. And then in April, we have the Japan delegation. I said Japan because it's Osaka, as you heard, and Tokyo as well. And I wanted to thank again Levi Shapiro for hosting the soft landing cocktail dinner at his home in Tokyo. We have room for about 40 women, which probably will come from the Israeli, French, and Japanese ecosystems, to come and network on the first evening, which is a Sunday. And then on the day after, on the 21st, which is a Monday, we have the help to organize the B2B meetings with Japanese partners of the French and the Israeli embassy, both of them. And we will be hosted by LVMH, the Louis Vuitton retail luxury group, which is a French group. And they will organize something very glamour for us. But we will also visit tech companies. We still have the Tuesday morning to do something in Tokyo, and we will use it probably for the on-site visits. And then we take a train to Osaka to be in time to spend the night in Osaka. And on Wednesday morning at 9, we start the VIP 12 and the gathering with the rest of Women in Tech Global for 3 amazing days, because it's not 2 days and a half. As you said to me, Ayumi, it includes Friday evening. So we need to sleep again in Osaka on Friday. And on Saturday, we are free to do some visits in the area of Osaka/Kyoto. So it will be a very simple, well-organized, but also spontaneous gathering of women of the world. I hope you will join also the Tokyo extension, and for Osaka to see as many Israelis as possible, to be as strong as the other countries. I think the record is Malaysia with 26 delegates, so it puts the target very, very high.
yay!
Did I forget any event in the next 3 months?
No.
No.
Follow us on
Okay.
LinkedIn to know more about women in tech. That's it.
So we have a lot of followers on LinkedIn. We have We are well beyond 4,000 followers on our page.
Well done.
And we have users on the hub. So everything is going in the right direction to contribute to the challenge of 2030, 5 more million women in tech. Thank you everyone for your presence. And it was a first. Thank you, Ayumi, for being our sister during these important years for us on a personal and on a national level. We really appreciate that, being at home at Women in Tech worldwide. I think this is a quote, being at home at Women in Tech worldwide. Feeling at home. I have a quote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Ayumi.